my wonderful co-host, Monica Brinkman.
Hello.
Today, we're initiating a new stage in our online presence. Many of you know of us from It Matters Radio. We started out actually many years ago. God, I've gotten a lot grayer since we started. And we were on Blog Talk, and we went to a couple different methods of doing a video show. We kept the name radio. And the emphasis of that show was always to talk about our guests and push their product, if you will, their music, their book, their movie. Now, we like doing that, and we've met a lot of wonderful people, and many of them I hope will be returning. But in recent years, what Monica and I discovered was we wanted to talk more about topics, about ideas, and we wanted to talk, to be perfectly honest, more about ourselves. we wanted to be more present in the show instead of saying, "Oh, guest, tell us about your book." We wanted to talk more about our books and our creative efforts. So we have renamed and redesigned. Our new name is Writings, Chats, and Friends.
Correct.
Now, please understand, that does not mean we're getting rid of music. Okay, no. We are going to have music and YouTubes of people performing at the ends of some of the shows. But the emphasis here is going to be more on the written and spoken word, such as poetry. And we've done some pretty good poetry. You know, Monica, I don't think in all of these years I have read one of my poems on the show, have I?
Only when you did a special one for the holiday season.
Yeah, a holiday thing.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
But no.
Yeah. How about I read one? Just to get
I'm going to tell you, folks, Ken has such a way with poetry. I just love it. So you're in for a treat.
And this one just was published in Emerge, which is a very lovely online writing journal. And I was very proud to have them select this for the latest issue. Its title is Boxes in the Attic. And I should mention that with many, as with many of my poems, and most, I think a lot of people's poems, this particular one is fairly autobiographical. Again, boxes in the attic, filled with photographs, people I had never seen. My parents, happy in bathing costumes on Boardwalk Revere Beach. Father smiling, and his parents, whom I never knew, despite monthly visits, to be kissed with grandmother's old age musk. No pictures of Benjamin, father's brother, who died young and was never mentioned. Memory of the dead is a luxury we were taught to scorn. Had he lived, perhaps the family rage would have burned less hot. If there had been time for tears, perhaps father's cries would have extinguished the flames. Hiding from mother's protection, I played solitaire with fading photographs. Who went with whom? Where did they go? I never asked. When they were dead, the last casket mourned, I asked cousins who recalled a different grandmother, one who gave love with food, strudel and gefilte fish, and sang bubbly Yiddish songs. In the boxes of photographs, uncles and aunts, graduations and cousins, but no Benjamin. There were no photographs of tears, only smiles worn like new clothes and stiff Sabbath shoes and unkissed mezuzah.
Wow. I can see why that's being published.
Yeah.
And you know, Ken, your words, even though they were more autobiographical, I think is something that many, many people can relate to.
Well, that's, I think, the goal of writing, isn't it? I mean, whether we're writing autobiography, memoir, poetry, or fiction, we're trying to reach something that we share one with another, even though we may have a unique experience, we are trying to, at the same time, connect to the universal, the human. And that's what the show is for.
And that's why I'm so happy that we're going to be presenting different types of writings,
Yeah.
because a lot of people aren't reading anymore. They want everything instant. So you want it instant? Here you go. You can come here and listen to
Yeah.
some wonderful, wonderful tales.
Yeah. The other thing everybody wants is they want movies. One of I just did a seminar for our very dear friend Clay By,
Mm-hmm.
and who's up in the far reaches north in Canada, folks. Hey,
Uh,
Clay, love you.
what a talented man he is. Yeah.
A very talented fellow. And another friend of ours, John Rosenman, was part of the audience, and it was writing how to write a novel as opposed to a movie script.
Yes.
And we were talking, I was talking about the difference in approaching, because one of the things is I feel is that we're forgetting how important good writing is. I grew up reading books. I love books.
Oh, yes.
I
And
mean,
I still prefer books than ebooks. I want to hold them in my hand. It feels good, you know?
this is the one I'm reading right now. How about that for a title too? It's a
Oh, my
biography of
word.
Hitler.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
because one of the things that does fascinate me, of course, is politics. Uh, I have my undergraduate degree is in economics, but my real mentors in college were a political scientist and a sociologist. So kind of pull those things together a
Well,
bit.
Ken, one thing I think people don't understand is you and I know you probably even more so, don't just go into, let's say, the political arena and go, okay, on this. And whatever this party says, I believe in.
That's I'm
You
glad you
look
brought that
at
up.
both sides.
I'm glad you brought that up because I donated a fairly, for me, I mean, I'm not a rich person, but for me, a fairly significant amount of money this year to Matt Kelly, who just was elected the senator here in my now home state of Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
And, I really like Kelly, and I really, really like his wife, Gabby Gifford, who was, of course, horribly taken from our political arena. She's still alive,
Yes.
but because of the damage to her brain caused by a mentally ill person with a gun, uh, she is no longer in the public arena. So her husband, who was an ex-astronaut and serviceman, he's got quite a wonderful career, uh, took up the cause, and he was elected. He is a Democrat. He was elected here in Arizona by a fairly good margin. I think he helped bring the state for Biden as well, and this state is one of those more interesting ones that keep toppling blue and red. It's never really purple. It kind of goes.
One or the other, huh?
But so I just sent him. I sent him a message, an email, and I want to take in my email what I said to him because I want to emphasize you and I really do believe in being in thinking about issues, thinking about ideas, thinking about methods and process and things like that, not just right, left. Oh, I'm this side or that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've been getting every day since the election. I think there was like one day off, celebratory day off, and then every day I've gotten either a text or an email asking for money for
Yeah.
his next campaign. Now, in fairness, Kelly is up for re-election in 2 years because he didn't get elected to a normal Senate term. He was elected to fill an open
Right.
spot.
In the midst of one, yeah.
So it's only 2 years. But he's been in Washington now, and I have not received an email or a text about, oh, I'm on this committee, or I'm looking at this issue, or I've asked to be on this investigation, or even this is what I experienced during that riot, or and nothing like that. It's just more money, more money, money, money. And I send him an email basically saying that, what I just said, saying, I'm beginning to feel like I've befriended a used car salesman.
Yeah.
And,
You want to know what he's doing. Yeah.
if he wants my money, show me show me the carburetor already.
Ken, I think
The tires.
and they're wrong at approaching people the way they do. They approach us like we're die hard with them forever and that we hate the other side.
Yeah.
And that isn't the way to approach people, because if you want unity in this country, come on. You're going to have different ideas and different views.
There seems to be a small cadre of people in the middle in Washington. They have banded themselves together and branded themselves as the moderates. And they really are trying to find that common ground.
And I think they can.
But the problem seems to be that it's an issue by issue, bill by bill approach. So, for example, you can have them being very party committed on something that I care about, that they are maybe on and then, oh, but I'm in the middle on this. And I just don't like that method of politics. I really am beginning to think what we need most in this country, I don't know about you, Monica, but I think we need a constitutional convention where the Constitution is examined, rewritten. We need to have a discussion like the discussion that went on before the Constitution was ratified back in the late 18th century. Not just amendments, but really looked at, like, what do we mean by the Congress shall pass no laws establishing a religion? Does that mean that there should be no limits on the political activity of the church? Or does it mean that there's no taxation on church property? Or does it mean what it meant to the people, the framers? They were coming out of the English experience. This is not that long after Henry VIII had created the split, and then the next split where you had the Anglican Church, and then, of course, a little later on, primarily under his daughter Elizabeth, you have, because of the influence of people like Knox up in Scotland, but also Wycliffe and people like that in England, you have a new thing called this Reformation, and a whole new theology. And the idea was, hey, the church, the government can't tell us what's the right church. They can't punish people for worshiping.
Exactly.
Not worshiping. What does that have to do with the fact that a church shouldn't have to pay taxes on its property? What does that have if those taxes are like the tax? These are questions. I don't know the answers.
There's a lot of gray areas in the Constitution, and you're looking at something that was written, my gosh, so long ago that today's society is nothing like it was.
And then we have a comma. that really is crucial. Actually, it's the fact that's crucial is that these people were trained in Latin.
Mhm.
So we have the Second Amendment that says, in fact, I don't remember the exact wording, but a militia being essential. You know,
But a
we got,
militia was essential back then because the people were the militia.
yeah, but the thing is, the question is, no, the militia was organized. But the thing is that then Congress shall make no rules abridging the right to have guns. Well, you see, if the reason was to make guns available for the militia,
Yes, that's what it was
or,
for.
or that public, like the Swiss Army could be called, as this kind of, if that's what it was like, if that was what the intent was, then, and that is different than saying guns in general should not be
Exactly.
prohibited.
It would
Uh,
be like in time of war,
yeah.
you have the right to have a gun.
Well, the issue here is something in Latin. There are 5 cases, and one is called the ablative, and we have 3 of those kind of collapse. The objective, which we use, the dative and the ablative, are all, we combine them all. So as a result of the fact that these people were trained to think in Latin, they were presumably making it as a limiting case. In other words, your right to have a gun was based on you being in the militia. Now, I don't want that. I
No.
want people, I'm a gun owner. I
Yeah,
don't know
I
about
think
you, but
everybody
I'm a
should have
gun
their right, but
owner. I don't, but I think that this idea of no limitations,
yeah.
you know, is coming from a strange place. By the way, I'm a New Englander, broody New Englander. Guns, before the Revolutionary War, there was a militia. Why were the British marching on Concord? They went up through Lexington. That's where the first fire shots were. Then they went on to Concord, and that's where they got really beaten up by the
Yes.
American militia.
I know.
Okay, what? Why were they going to Concord? Because that's where all the guns and all the powder and the shot for the militia were kept. I grew up in a city called Somerville, right outside of Boston. We had a tower in this park. It was from the same period. It was where the weaponry was stored. People didn't have their guns, all these guns and things at home.
No.
When it says though you're a militia, they don't mean you have the guns at home. In fact, nobody wanted in a lot of the places, as you know from some of our earlier shows on It Matters Radio, one of the things you and I know is that a lot of the revolution was based on protecting slavery.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the support for the Second Amendment actually came from down south. Now, let me tell you something. They didn't want all those guns in the plantations. That's why John Brown was at Harper's Ferry. He was raiding an armory. It was a federal armory, but same idea. The last thing you wanted was to have a bunch of guns at the plantation house.
Yeah.
Because that made it much easier if you had some slaves who wanted to rebel, and I would imagine 99.9% of the slaves.
Of course, it would be human nature. Yeah.
Yeah. Would make it much easier for them. All they had to do was sneak in the middle of the night, kill people, get the guns. So you want those guns
Unfortunately, I think they have made this gun control a political tool rather than looking at it as we live right now.
Well, it's a lot of things. I mean, the NRA, the gun manufacturer, the United States, forget all the guns we buy. And again, I'm a gun owner. So when I say we,
yeah, we are too. I mean, everybody thinks that
so,
you're not because you voted Democrat.
okay. So, yeah, but for all the guns we Americans buy, one of the things we do is we sell them. We're selling them all over the friggin' world.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no control on that.
Yeah,
So,
we do need a control. I mean, it's a deadly instrument. It's,
yeah, yeah.
and you know, I just don't understand why so many people feel the need that they have to be so armed. Because the truth is, if the military and the government was going to do anything, they have way more power than any of them.
Well, there used to be a myth that we would be invaded. I think I forget the name of it. There was a movie, Red Dawn.
I remember Red
And
Dawn.
we needed weapons. But yeah, I mean, reality is that I don't care how many bazookas you have in your cellar. If the U.S. cavalry is coming for you with their tanks, you're losing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But more to the point is, what are you saying about yourself as an American to think you have to fight them?
Right.
Why do we have to fight one another? They're us. They should be us.
They're
And one
supposed
of,
to be us.
yeah.
Yeah.
And one of the real dangers in this country, and I think it's interesting because this is really the ultimate kind of weird thing. The real danger is what I would call the unionization or professionalization of the military and the police, because to me, the police and the military are really much the same. And when you create them in such a way that they are separated from the greater us, that's when they become a danger to our society. I am a strong advocate of the draft, of public service, even though I did not serve, to be honest. I am a strong advocate of it. And I am a strong advocate that the military, that the service academies, as wonderful and as fine as they are, have to be constantly reevaluated. One of the biggest problems we had in this country, the Civil War, was predicated on the fact that the service academies, particularly West Point, was producing professional soldiers, such as the ones that all these monuments that we've been pulling down in this country. They were not educated to see themselves as connected to the nation as a whole. Now we have service academies, and a lot of the people graduating are not seeing themselves as connected to the people as a whole, as opposed to the nation as a whole. They see themselves as being this exclusivity, and that's dangerous to our system.
Yeah, and it seems that is happening quite a bit.
Yeah. Hey, we've been running on, Monica.
Yeah.
Let's talk about something. Go back to something, to maybe some writing, okay? And unfortunately, folks, one of the problems we're going to have is you're going to hear a lot more of my writing than Monica's on Writing Chats and Friends, for a very simple reason. Monica lost so much of her work in that horrible fire that destroyed her home and the whole town there, and Paradise. And so we're going to have to encourage her. So please, folks, when you hear, encourage Monica to write so we can have more of her and less of me.
I promise I'll get a couple things up at least.
Good. Because next time we have time for a short story, Monica, I'd love it, or a poem. I'd love it to be something by you, or an essay.
All right. I promise.
But how about this one? It's a piece about adolescence, and I received word the other day. This one also is being published soon. It's called
You are on a
Virgil.
roll. I told you he's good, folks.
It's called Virgil on the Pier, and I don't know. My accent I know gets in the way, so I'm going to explain. Virgil, of course, is the name, and he's the famous poet. And the pier, that's that boardwalk that goes out in the water.
They're often.
They often have kind of fun rides on it and places like that. So that's what the story is about. And it's from the point of view of a teenager, young teen. Lil and me were an item. That Friday night, we headed down to the pier to ride the tilt-a-wheel. I was hoping she'd scream and hug up against me till I got all hot and hard. Then we'd get some of that saltwater taffy, the kind that comes wrapped in pastel papers, and when a guy chews on it, it gets all in his teeth and keeps coming out a little bit of sweet at a time. I knew Lil loved that stuff, so maybe after. We're walking down to the pier, and this guy hops up to us. He's thin, tall, got one leg, and he's using those metal crutches that cuff around his arms. He asks, "You seen my dog?" It kind of creeps me out the way he's asking, like one of those guys that mothers warn you about. Except we're not little kids, and this guy ain't got but one leg, so I say, "Nah, we ain't seen no dogs." "What's he look like?" Lil asks. The guy gets all smiley, and he describes his mutt. Little, tan, pointed ears that stand up, smooth coat, always yapping. "What's his name?" I ask, in case we find him. "Virgil." Like the poet, Lil puts in, which shows she's been paying attention in World Lit. I like it that Lil smart. I wish I was too. "Yeah, like the Italian poet," he says. "And what's your name?" I ask, in case we find him and want to find you. "Virgil," he says. "You and your dog got the same name?" "Yeah. Anything wrong with that?" All of a sudden, the guy's snarling like I hit him or something. "Nah, just doesn't the dog get confused when people talk to you?" Now the one-legged guy is staring me down. I don't see why he should. I don't get confused when people talk to him. "Yeah," I say, and take Lil's hand to pull her away. "Hey, we'll keep an eye out for your dog if we find him." We're moving down the pier again, and I'm thinking how cute Lil looked when Virgil was talking about his dog. Was it her breasts getting bigger? Or my wishing? Either way. The tilt-a-wheel is maybe 200 feet farther down the pier when this bag lady staggers up to us smelling of cheap wine and rotting teeth and pushing a shopping cart filled with loose crap, a large black garbage bag, and a small paper sack with her bottle peeking out. "You seen my husband?" she asks. "I'm looking for my husband." "Your husband isn't Virgil," Lil asks, like talking to this human flotsam ain't nothing we don't do every Friday night. "No, my husband's name is Chuck." "Have you tried calling him?" I asked, suddenly wondering why Virgil hadn't been calling his dog instead of bothering us. "It isn't that crowded. He'd probably hear you." I looked across the pier towards the low-tide beach. "Even if he's under the pier, if you stand on the edge and—" "He's not down there," she says. "He's in Salinas." "If he's in Salinas, why are you looking for him here?" Lil asks. Her light blue eyes twitch with puzzlement. "Because I don't want to find him. I just want to look." Now, that doesn't make any sense to me, so I ask, "How come?" "It's like Virgil," she says. "Years ago, that dog of his took off. He comes down here every night since looking for that mutt. He hopes to find him, but he knows he won't. Still, he gives him something to hope for. Me, I don't want to find that no-good bastard. He ran off with that hoe of a best friend of mine one Friday night and left me with—" She gestures toward the shopping cart. "If I was to find him, I'd kill the son of a bitch. Kill them both if I could. So I come here and I look for him and I hope I don't find him. Know what I mean? She punctuates her words with a spray of spittle. I'm not sure that I do, but Lil says, yeah. I say, yeah, too, like we're having a normal conversation. Good luck, Lil says. And I say, good luck, too. The tilt-a-wheel's a disappointment at first. Lil doesn't scream or get scared, but then she nestles up against me and makes it all right. I'm real happy when we go to buy that taffy.
Yay! Very well done.
Hey,
You know, I could see myself in Atlantic City when you were doing that.
well, actually, I
The
said that
taffy.
in Santa Monica or something, California, but yeah,
Yeah,
Atlantic City,
but
yeah.
that's the piers I went to. But
Oh,
yeah, it's great.
Revere Beach in the poem before I mentioned Revere. Yeah, same thing.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. That was very well done.
yeah. So, folks, I'm really glad that you joined us here on Writings, Chats, and Friends. And here's the thing, if you are interested in joining us, you know, please let us know. And you can let us know in a lot of ways. You can, first of all, we got a page up on Facebook now?
Yes.
Okay, so you can look for page on Facebook and contact us through that. You can also reach out to Monica or myself on Facebook. And also, you can contact us through my website. Just use the contact link on my website, which is www.kennethweene.com.
That's also on our Facebook page as a contact also.
Oh, it is?
So
Okay.
they can just click on that and get right to your contact page.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah.
The fact you can do those things, Monica. I'm confused by any kind of stuff like that. Everything for me gets turned into a poem or a story.
Right. Well, I'm just so happy that we can share tales with other people, and what a better way to spend some time.
Okay, folks. So please reach out to us, and we are interested in talking about politics, religion, poetry, literature, theater, movies, all kinds of stuff. I know death. I think we have a few people already who have told us they want to join us. One just finished making a movie, producing a movie, and directing it. Another is somebody who wants to come on and talk about the right to die.
Yeah.
Another, I believe she wants to talk about health and diet.
Yeah,
And,
I can't wait for that one because
you know,
she's done a total turnaround, and wow, she looks good.
and yeah, well, so we really want to, foreign policy, you name it, we'll talk about it. And if we don't know anything, well, we'll make believe we do.
With that, folks, stay in touch. Tell everyone about us so they can join us also. And Ken, it was great. See you next time.
Yep. Good night, folks.
Bye bye.